It's a real pleasure to be here today to talk about the DCHA Gold Standards and to talk with some of the DCHA members who put these to good use. My name is Bob James. I'm a founding DCHA member of Virginia Tech, where I had a research, teaching, and extension focus and serve as a consultant U.S. and internationally on calf consulting. We're going to talk a little bit about the gold standards. We'll introduce our panelists and let them tell you a little bit about their operations, and then we've got a set of questions really geared towards asking them how they use the gold standards in their business. So moving on to the history of the gold standards, they were first published in 2009. And I'm really excited about them because they've been developed by a committee. Normally committees are something that we don't look forward to, but it's neat in that it's made up of calf and heifer raisers, both contract growers as well as dairy producers, folks from the allied industry, that includes veterinarians as well as tech service people, and then some folks from the university. So we've really had very broad representation. This is viewed as a living document because things change. We have new research, we have new technologies, and we're looking at this document as ways to enhance animal health, welfare, and performance with really an emphasis on economical practices. And the gold standards are really divided into two sections, performance standards and production standards. The performance standards are objective, they're measurable. And these are in all cases in our standards, our performance and our production standards, these are based on, not necessarily on opinion, but on published research, on national surveys of dairy, calf, and heifer management, and also on agreement. These standards are not provincial. They really apply across North America, and quite frankly, we've seen a lot of interest across the world in looking towards the gold standards as achievable measurement of success. The production standards really help to drive their performance standards. If we look at performance, we're looking at such things as height, as weight, and weight as a percent of mature body weight, reproductive measures, and animal health measures. In the performance standards, they're really those things that some key areas that relate to achieving those performance standards. And we identify these as areas for improvement. We can use them for conducting training and also implementing plans to help us to support our performance targets. And I think more recently we've included a lot more things about animal welfare. And animal welfare, I think, that really contributes to animal performance and health. And so that these best management standards are located next to the relevant practices. So today it's a real pleasure to introduce several folks who are going to tell us a little bit about their operation, and then we'll have some questions. Our panelists are Jordan Fisher from Forest Heifers LLC in New York, and Jim Leake from Nighthawk Dairy in Wisconsin. Jordan, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about your operation in New York.
Okay, so Mapleview Dairy in Matter, New York, we're milking about 2,600 Holsteins and 250 Jerseys on 2 sites. We're cropping about 4,800 acres of crops for the dairy herd. And in January of this year, we purchased a former Agway heifer facility in Nicholville. That's where we started Forest View Heifers. It allowed us to bring home about 900 heifers that were boarded out at 3 different custom boarders, as well as close down 2 other old facilities where we were raising heifers. So we're raising all of the replacements for Mapleview Dairy as well as 1 client.
Okay, and Jim?
Yes, our dairy, Nighthawk Dairy, was established in 2013 by my cousins and myself. Our grandfather actually started the farm in 1900, and it was passed down to our grandparents and our fathers, who built separate operations. Then about 10 years ago, we began discussing bringing the farms back together again. So in spring of 2013, we built a 700-stall tunnel ventilated barn and a double 12 parallel parlor. We each had 200 cows, so at that time we had about 400 to start with. And then by using the Dairy Calf and Heifer Association Gold Standards, in the last 3.5 years, we've been able to bring our cow numbers up to 900 by not purchasing any animals, just raising all of our own replacements. We built a new auto feeder barn and then new heifer facilities. So today we're at our capacity of 900, and we raise 30 wet calves every month. So we try to raise the least number that we can, ask for replacements, and take best possible care of those replacements, because that's our future herd. So that's where we stand today.
And I understand, I think you were also a member of the Gold Standards Committee, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I was. Yep, we worked on that. I've been a member of the DCHA for 4 years when we merged the two dairies together, because I wanted to get the updated information on the best ways to grow these calves.
Okay, what I'd like to do is to move in and we'll kind of talk in order. We've got several questions that we'd like for you to address. And I guess we'll start off with, what value do the Gold Standards really bring to your farm or to your business?
So the value that the Gold Standards brought to our farm business, and the reason that we signed up to be a DCHA member again here this year, was just to assess our initial performance in our new facility, bringing all those heifers back to one location, and establish some goals and prioritize areas to improve on with new management.
Okay, and Jim?
Well, for me, it's just a great resource to use as a guide in my calf raising program to make sure that my standards meet or exceed the standards that we have as an industry. And also, it's great to have the handout, the nice little pamphlet with all the gold standards, the performance and production. When we give tours, if people ask questions about why we do certain things a certain way, I can get the book out and say, well, this as an industry, these are our standards, our benchmarks that we set, and this is what we're doing because of all the expertise that we have built into these standards.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question. And there, where have the Gold Standards been most useful to you in your calf and heifer business? So we'll start off with Jordan.
Health, growth, and survival rates are the big areas that we're focusing on right now. Many of the production standards we are already using as far as SOPs, training with employees, and that sort of thing. Outside of repro, we haven't in the past done a good job tracking actual performance metrics. So now we have good weights, five good weights throughout the heifer's time at the heifer facility. And we have systems in place now to monitor these reports based specifically on the Gold Standards.
And Jim?
Well, for me, it's been most helpful to develop written treatment protocols and records of animal treatments. So I've been able to develop, keep track of these records and enter them in the dairy comp, so we can track any kind of treatments that this calf has had all the way through her whole production cycle. That's where it's been the biggest help for me. Okay.
And I guess and one of the other questions, which is somewhat related to that, and we'll start off with Jordan again, and I guess ask how they've really addressed maybe your biggest challenge that you've had, and how the Gold Standards have really kind of helped you through some of that challenge.
For us, we think our most challenging area is probably in survival rates. On the wet calf side, we had good records and we knew what our survival rates were. But after they went to growers, we were fortunate enough to be working with really good growers, but we didn't know what our survival rates were at all of these different locations. So now that we have them all in one place, we're really working hard on tracking that accurately. And the Gold Standards gives us a good way to compare and benchmark and set our goals above the benchmark to really do a good job with these heifers.
It sounds like there was a real challenge too, as you've done some big transitions in your business over the last couple of years, that maybe this has helped you maintain some focus on really what's important too. I think really probably for both of you, there's been some value in that. And so I guess our last question, I think it is how are you using the Gold Standards with your employees? And maybe you might start off by saying how many employees you have, and how do you incorporate this into some of your employee training?
We haven't used this with all of our employees yet. We've mostly been at the management level right now, deciding on goals, deciding on the metrics that we want to monitor. But we have established a monthly report that we're looking at, and to go along with those goals and metrics. We will use these in the future for specific areas, say if calf health, survival rates, things like that. But right now it's just on the management side that we're using them.
Okay. And Jim?
Well, the Dairy Calf and Heifer Association Gold Standards have assisted me with developing cleaning protocols because in my operation with the automatic calf feeders and the group pens, we spend a lot of time cleaning, and the gold standards are referenced at a lot of meetings that I go to. So that's constantly preached to us to keep everything clean. So by following those standards, that really helps lessen the scour events that we have. And then using those gold standards to train my employees, I have 4 people that help me with all the birth through 1-year-old calf and heifers. So I can show them the book and show them that these are the standards that we want to meet or exceed, and it's not something that I'm just making up. I never think I want to make up all these rules and tell them that they have to follow them. The gold standards are information source that I can go back to and help my employees understand that this is what we need to do and why we need to do it. So that's how they help me there.
Okay, and I think as we look at really, this is our last one, as you look to the future, what goals are your highest priority, and how can these standards help you achieve them?
Our priority right now is getting all heifers onto one facility, getting them all together, and raising a uniform group of heifers with different sites. I think we've had a lack of uniformity across our herd, and so getting them onto one site, every single heifer working on the best procedures that we can throughout to allow them to grow and lower our treatment rates and things like that. So the gold standards are going to allow us to keep a focus on a bunch of different areas so that we don't just make a lot of progress in one area and fall behind in another.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Jim?
Well, my goal is always to decrease treatments and increase average daily gain. So by using the gold standards, as far as their cleaning and feeding and space for calves, make sure we don't overcrowd. That's how we plan on continuing the great success that we've had the last few years and continue to grow with that. And freshen heifers, larger heifers at a younger age so we can get them milking earlier, and then hopefully that'll translate into keeping them in the milking herd longer.
Good. Imagine you've had some, how long ago did you build your auto feeder facility?
2.5 years.
Okay. I imagine you've had some transition there from a real different style of management, and has the gold standards kind of, I guess, served as a reference point for you there?
Yes, and before I became a member, like you had mentioned earlier, the gold standards were developed in 2009, and they've been a big help since then, just to continually increase what we do as our standards. It's always raising the bar.
Okay. I guess in finishing up our questions, do any of you have any last remarks that you'd really like to make in regards to the gold standards and for the benefit of those who might be listening to this, who will be listening to this webinar?
Well, I think they're a great resource for people to use that want to increase their results that they're getting on their calves. I asked my feed consultant how often they use the Dairy Calf and Heifer Association standards, and she said almost every day she mentions this to her clients, the goals that they should try to reach. So I think it's a big help for a lot of those people.
To go along with that, we've run into a few different things that we don't think about on a daily basis. We think about treatment rates, we think about growth, but there have been a few small things that we've run into that we didn't really know what our goal should be or if it even mattered, and we were able to go back and reference the gold standards. So it's helped us in that way too.
Well, that's good. I think we've heard several examples of application and use across the U.S., and again, remember our speakers here were from the Midwest, North Central, and from the Northeast, and
And it's one of the things I was involved in with the committee as well. It really was exciting in the fact that we've really relied upon some published research, and we've relied upon a lot of different experiences to come up with, I think, some things that are really support our industry in the future. A lot of people have questions about how to get access to the gold standards. Well, first of all, it's available to those who are members, and one can access that at the website, which is calfandheifer.org, and it's available both in print and digital. And we're really grateful for all those who have supported the gold standards and who led to the development. We had a wonderful committee that I think had some very, very productive talks, and these things got fleshed out, I think, very well. And I want to thank our sponsors that we've had for the gold standards. There are several farms who contributed to developing these. They're listed on this slide as Dream Farms, City View, Circle Heifer, and Bonhomme Livestock. And then we have several corporate sponsors who are listed on the following slides, and we greatly appreciate their support. If you do have any questions, ask a DCHA member, and we look forward to those of you that are not a DCHA member of joining the association and seeing you at the next conference. So thanks everybody for your support of this webinar today.